US President Donald Trump has asked for at least $100 billion in oil industry spending for Venezuela, but received a lukewarm response. Executives have warned that the country was currently uninvestable despite sitting on vast energy reserves. Trump said he would unleash Venezuela's oil after US forces seized President Nicolás Maduro in a January 3 raid on Caracas and claimed the US would benefit from lower energy prices. Exxon CEO has urged caution. Exxon CEO Darren Woods said that the company has had its assets seized twice before and that re-entering would require major changes. Venezuela currently produces about 1 million barrels per day, less than 1% of global supply. I have Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, joining me. Dr. Kohli, welcome. And how do you feel about what we've just shared with our viewers?
I think the approach of President Trump here seems to be very, very arbitrary. The whole intent of invading Venezuela seems to be, very evident, and it's an open secret now to everyone, whether it was about Maduro or his whole approach towards Venezuela. He's looking at oil and he wants certain minimum, amount to be coming. It so happened that Exxon oil in the past had made some investments in Venezuela. And after the Venezuelan companies were nationalized, obviously the American investment was of no use. So he's obviously trying to, now recover that amount and put pressure on Venezuela that we want this much oil as the minimum, we want that much oil as the minimum. That's a typical transactional President Trump, Vaishali, I would say.
All right. Now, Dr. Kohli, ExxonMobil's CEO has described Venezuela as uninvestable without major legal and commercial changes. Now, what specific reforms would make large-scale investment viable?
The first thing which Venezuela will have to do is to denationalize the companies because the companies were nationalized and it was being run on a socialistic pattern. So obviously there was restriction on the foreign refiners and foreign extractors. The first change which would have to be made is to be denationalizing the companies to allow proper private investment. Those legal changes would have to be made. Only then it would be possible for American companies, Exxon for that matter, to be able to invest. I think in the present situation, we should also keep in mind, Vaishali, that there are local gangs in Venezuela which are threatening Americans. So there's been advisory given by American administration that they should leave America immediately. So I think it's not going to be as easy as President Trump thinks it is going to be. This will need a lot of effort, and it's definitely not going to be a very easy task because he's going to face rebels in Venezuela. The guerrilla type attacks could be there. The companies may not be allowed to function properly. So it's not a very smooth road the way President Trump thinks it is going to be. Vaishali.
And Dr. Kohli, my final question is that Venezuela currently produces around 1 million barrels per day, less than about 1% of global supply, despite having, some of the world's largest oil reserves. So what economic and structural factors explain this production shortfall?
I think they did not make any investment in oil refining and extraction, and the reserves were just there. There were a lot of economic issues which were being faced by Venezuela. I think there were no efforts made to resolve those issues. And of course, sanctions from America, differences with America also created a lot of obstructions. And I think the whole system of the government, I won't say that Maduro is completely, a pious man and had nothing to do with the destruction of the Venezuelan economy. But then what has been done by America cannot be justified by that. But there are a lot of economic reforms required in Venezuela for it to become the biggest supplier. It holds 20% of the reserves, but contrary to that, only 1% of the supplies. Vaishali.
Thank you, Dr. Kohli, for joining me on the broadcast.